Where do you think we are?
I think we're still inside the no-end house. And I think it wants us to stay.
This week on Channel Zero, we got to find out what happens when victims get all the way into room 6 of the no-end house. We also got to see what Cannibal Thanksgiving would look like if human flesh was made out of boba tea bubbles. Before we get into that, please like the video and subscribe to GameSpot Universe for more video breakdowns, and follow me on Twitter at RogueCheddar, where you can yell at me like everybody else does. When we spoke with Channel Zero creator Nick Antosca, he called what Margot's dad is eating at the end of this episode a flesh memory. Fun fact, it's actually a mixture of tapioca balls, chocolate pudding, and food dye, and the actor, John Carroll Lynch, said it tasted terrible. Yum! If you watched closely, well, Margot's dad was very weirdly rubbing her head in her sleep. It seemed like her mom's face was getting erased from her memories. We've seen people inside the no-end house whose memories have been erased.
I am home, and I don't know you.
So I think the house is creating these entities like Margot's dad and JD's clone to encourage people to stay inside of it while it feeds off of their memories. If that's the case, then the statues that we saw in episode 1 of these characters' faces being ripped open by the house make a little more sense. At least the no-end house has a sense of humor. This is all way beyond what the author of the original creepypasta, Brian Russell, put in the story, and so far it's really cool. But the no-end house is an imperfect simulation. If this was the Matrix, we'd call them glitches. Things like the eggs reappearing in the fridge after she closes the door, the kids riding by the house on a loop, and the guy who seemingly doesn't notice the bleeding corpse on the street in front of him. None of these cars have engines. Margot's dad told her this story from when she was a kid that she said she had forgotten.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Did you?
But she remembered it after he brought it up, so it seems like maybe the house can't tell you anything that you don't already have in your mind. It knows what's on the surface of a swimming pool, but not under the surface, and it knows what flavor of ice cream you like, but not how that ice cream tastes.
Pistachio ice cream's really good.
By the end of the episode, I was feeling really bad for JD. He seemed like a nice guy who just wanted to be cool and get girls, which I kind of relate to. Rip JD. One of the biggest questions this week is what is going on with Jules. The house has created like some sort of big glowy orb for her, and we don't really know what it is. What we do know is that Jules is repressing a lot of guilt over leaving Margot when she went off to college. Margot was grieving over her dad and Jules didn't know how to deal with it. Her mom is guilt-tripping her about it in that flashback, and she keeps thinking about this voicemail that Margot left her. The orb might be some kind of manifestation of that. She's drawn to it, and it's constantly whispering to her, but she doesn't seem aware of it when she's awake. The house knows what's in its victims' heads, but if they don't want to acknowledge that, or they aren't aware of it, how does that compartmentalization manifest? Maybe as a big, mysterious, glowing orb. The house clearly doesn't have total control over these things that it creates. Margot's dad tells Jules that he knows he shouldn't be there, and if the house's goal is to feed off living people's memories, then JD2 murdering JD1 probably isn't super helpful. But the house is also really good at manipulating people. It knows exactly what to say to Jules to push her buttons, it knows exactly what JD wants to see in himself, and it knows exactly what to say to Margot to keep her there. We didn't get to see exactly what the house is doing to Seth and its mysterious 5th guest though. Seth doesn't seem tempted by the woman in her underwear waving to him from the window. It's also maybe significant that none of these houses have the number 6 on them like Margot's did. She is trapped in room 6, but something weird is going on with Seth. Lastly, there's our mysterious mercenary friend. He said in the first episode that he was looking for the house, and he encouraged the others to leave, almost like he knew what was going to happen. There's some really weird stuff in his scenes, like these license plate markings. I asked people on Twitter if they had any idea what those markings were, and nobody seemed to know, although my favorite 2 suggestions were uncomfortable sex positions and obscure Winter Olympics events like uphill skiing, so thank you for that, friends. More importantly, we finally met up again with the woman from the opening of episode 1 who we learn is named Lacey. Assuming this guy is telling the truth about being her husband, it seems like the house has taken her actual memories and replaced them with false memories that make her want to stay inside it. The house even made a fake Lacey for him, but this guy is too smart. Good for him.
What?
Some final notes. There are orchids everywhere in this episode. They were also in episode 1, but they're a lot more prominent here. Jules, who is instantly suspicious of everything going on, as she should be, points them out to Margot, who is in denial because she wants to keep hanging out with her dead dad, which is also understandable. I did a little bit of research, and orchids typically represent things like beauty and innocence. I also associate them with funerals, and they can be given to represent sympathy. They could have some significance in the show beyond just being spooky, but on the other hand, the house is pretty good at symbolism, and as we've established, it has a sense of humor. The song that John plays is Remember by the Shangri-Las, a pop group in the 60s. It's about a woman whose love leaves her and she doesn't hear from him for years, but then she gets a letter from him and she starts remembering the time that they spent together. At least the house knows how vinyl records work, unlike swimming pools, ice cream, and refrigerators. There are still 4 episodes left in Channel Zero No End House. When Margot wakes up, she's probably not going to remember her mom anymore, but she's going to want to get the out of there anyway. Jules and Seth discovered that the house is not where they left it, meaning they have no exit, and they're going to have to deal with JD too as well. Then again, all he wants is to try ice cream, so maybe it won't be that bad. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to GameSpot Universe. We're going to keep breaking Channel Zero down all season. We have a lot of other shows as well, and follow me on Twitter at Rogue Cheddar. Let me know if I got anything wrong or if you just hate my face. Bye.